Let's move on to our final Indiana story this week, and this one is unpleasant. So, trigger warning going in. Now, on Friday, we learned of the arrest of one Jonathan Wesley Peternel, age 24, of Pendleton, who was arrested on Thursday following investigation by the Hamilton County Metro Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. Investigators said they received a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children indicating that Peternel had uploaded child sexual abuse material to Snapchat. Detectives seized from multiple laptops, iPads, tablets, cell phones, and storage devices from the home for forensic processing. In reviewing the data, investigators reported finding more than 200 files of suspected child sexual abuse material, including what they described as, quote, sadomasochistic child abuse and photorealistic AI-generated photos of nude pregnant toddlers, end quote. There's a phrase I didn't ever want to say. The affidavit also states that more than 50 photos and videos were located on Peternel's phone that appeared to show his parents nude or engaged in sex acts. According to documents and a police release, investigators also discovered chat logs suggesting Peternel was distributing explicit material in a Snapchat group called Diddy Disciples, a reference to rapper Sean Diddy Combs, who was recently convicted of sex crimes of his own. So, listen, that's messed up. That's gross. But why are we talking about it? Well, Peternel is the son of Nathan Peternel, the lead pastor for all Life Church campuses, who hired Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith years ago to lead the church's Noblesville campus, where Beckwith continues to serve as pastor while holding elected office. The elder Peternel also regularly attends special events held at Life Church's Noblesville campus, where Beckwith leads the congregation and could be seen during a screening of conservative Christian documentary on Title IX. Nathan Peternel also co-hosts the conservative Christian podcast Jesus, Sex, and Politics with Beckwith. The two have long described their work as an intersection of faith and governance, often using the podcast to discuss religion's role in public policy and elections. Jesse, the call's always coming from inside the house, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and speaking of which, I mean, this morning alone, two different people with close ties to the Beckwith clique, I guess, that's in charge of the LG's office, have told me this is the tip of the iceberg for this story. There's going to be more coming out, and it's going to be more obvious that Beckwith himself is personally implicated in some of this stuff, which, you know, that's hearsay. Believe it if you want, but the people who reached out to me have not shared that didn't prove true. You know, and I think that we could look at the AI porn of the legislator's wife from Beckwith's office that he supposedly knew about and tolerated, and then denied and tried to fire people who brought it up. You can look at a lot of different behavior he's been involved in to have some real concerns about that guy in particular, who happens to be a heartbeat away from being our governor. I also think it's just like really horrifying when you think about this guy who was arrested was 24 years old. I have yet to see a situation where somebody is this deep into creepy child porn stuff that wasn't abused as a child themselves, especially if somebody at this age, which begs a lot of questions about what happened, how involved were his parents, who were apparently, like you said, depicted in some of these gross images. Yeah, that like, I don't think you get to this point without a whole mountain of horrifying, disgusting shit underneath it. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, so for many years, I did not call myself a Christian, because even though I cared deeply about the Gospels and wanted to follow Jesus Christ and cared so much about that, I saw the way a lot of Christians behaved, and I didn't want to tar myself with that word. And since then, I've decided, no, screw that. I'm going to still say that I'm a Christian. It's them who are, you know, not doing what the Beatitudes say. But I think that, again, just like Joe Hogg said, tarnishes the name of Democrats. I think that this kind of behavior coming from a church makes people wonder, we had the Catholic sex abuse scandal. We've got this. Is there something about Christianity that causes this? I think the answer is no. I think there's something about hierarchical organizations and institutions that causes this. And in our state and in our country, a lot of those are churches. So, but yeah, it really frustrates me as a Christian to have this kind of horror coming out from the people who are Bible thumping and trying to tell other people how to live their lives. Yeah, it just makes me sick, and I wish I had like a total hot take or a what to do about it. But I just think breaking down hierarchies, like democracy, transparency, accountability, use those three words in religion as well as in politics, and I think we help at least stop the worst of this problem moving forward.
Zach, I seem to recall, oh boy, the last couple of years, conservatives like to use these buzzwords to describe folks like us over here on the left who, support, love, and empathize with LGBTQ youth, and they call us groomers. They say, "Oh, we're turning the kids gay." Boy, it certainly appears that this kind of behavior is groomed in high control religious environments, like the kind in which Beckwith is a high profile member now.
Yeah, certainly, Scott. And there are no words to describe what you have read, not just in general humanity, but in terms of being in such a position and showing just fell disgrace for your fellow humanity and the people that you are there to serve. And for LGBTQ plus people across the state in our rural gathering, we have heard stories of kids who have been kicked out of their homes by their parents after coming out. We have heard horrible, heinous hate crimes and speech. We have at universities hate speeches against LGBTQ youth, against Jews, against Muslims, against even Muslim or Palestinian members of student boards of government in the few places where there are those in the state of Indiana, and the suppression of those people coming into IU Bloomington or to other universities. But I will say also, as a Jew who, despite all of the horrible things that Netanyahu and what's going on in Gaza right now for all those poor people, I strongly believe in being a Jewish person and in the community in Congregation Beth Shalom in Bloomington, of which I am very happy to be a part of that community and interfaith with the church and other churches nearby us and the mosque in Bloomington. It is not a sin, as some Christians in the Christian nationalist agenda might believe, to come together with people of other faiths and believe in a stronger forward, particularly not Jews, Christians, and Muslims that many believe come from the same ancestry or basic precepts in one form or another. And so the idea that we would find this at all acceptable and entirely depressing to the overall uplifting and empathetic messaging that is so core to all three of those faiths is just not true. And I would happily whittle away for many hours on the oppression that Jews and Muslims have faced at the face of Christian nationalism. But I'll suffice to say that our community and Muslim communities in this state and the other Jewish communities in this state has had to navigate an increase in hatred and bigotry, and the intersection of LGBTQ plus Jews and Muslims have been particularly targeted and made to feel afraid. And our synagogue and other spaces have made it a priority to create those spaces of community for those individuals so that they can thrive and not feel oppressed by their very neighbors.
And I think that's the key to all of this, as Jesse was talking about, is to have accountability within these communities, breaking down those rigid hierarchies. You've got to hope that if these accusations and allegations are proven true, that this kid will serve time and not be protected by the powerful folks that are in his circle.